Hello, this is Mr. Passon. Today we are doing lesson 7 in our rational numbers unit. We're going to talk about multiplying and dividing integers. Let's go ahead and write your name. Today's date, whatever it is for your class, and whatever period it is for your class. Integers can also be multiplied and divided using an algorithm. Alright, or a set of rules. Now, let's think about what's going on here. I can give you the rules, but we're going to talk briefly about what those rules mean and where they come from. So I'm going to grab my notebook, pull it over here, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what it means when we're multiplying a number. So if we think of 7 times 6, that is 7 groups of 6. So that is 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 6 plus 6. And if we add that up, we're going to get 42. That's sort of what we came up with. Now let's try a positive times a negative. 5 times negative 3. Well, that is 5 groups of negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3 plus negative 3. And if we add those up using our integral rules, well, that's negative 3, negative 6, negative 9, negative 12, negative 15. So we get negative 15. So a positive times a negative is a negative. Now, let's try a negative times a positive. So that's, let's say, negative 4 times 5. That's removing 4 groups of 5. So rather than adding, we're going to subtract. So I'm actually going to start at 0 to give me a place for it. So I'm going to subtract off 1 5, subtract off another 5, subtract off another 5, subtract off another 5. Oh, I wrote a plus in there accidentally. So if we think of this first numbers are groups, and if it's positive, then we're adding groups, and if it's negative, we're removing groups, then we should see that this is negative 20. So if we have a positive times a negative, or a negative times a positive, that's going to give you a negative answer. Let's go ahead and check our last one, a negative times a negative. So let's do negative 3 times negative 5. So I've got removing 3 groups of negative 5. So I'm going to start at 0 just to give me a place to start off with. All right. And here we know that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So negative 3 times negative 5 is actually a positive 15. So if we think of it always as groups of a thing, and if it's a positive number of groups, we're adding them. If it's a negative number of groups, we're subtracting them. That's sort of where it comes from. Let's go back here. And then we say if the signs are the same, notice that when the signs were the same, and that was this case down here, and this first one up here, the answer is positive. On the other hand, if the signs are different, the answer is negative. All right, so that's our rule for multiplication, and it just comes from our definition of what multiplication was before. So a positive times a positive is a positive. A negative times a negative is also a positive, but a positive times a negative, negative, and a negative times a positive is negative. All right. So now it says here in each one of the columns below, determine 4 different ways to express 4 different expressions that could result in the given solution. Now, our focus is on negatives and positives. To get a negative answer, we want one positive number and one negative number. So we could do 9 times negative 2 We could do negative 3 times 6. And in fact, I'm normally going to use that star for multiplication, so I'm just going to continue to use that star for multiplication, because we're going to start using x's as variables real shortly. We could do 6, we could do, 3 times negative 6. Or we could do like negative 1 times 18. So that's one way to do it. 40, well, we could do like 5 times 8, that way they're both positive. But we could also do negative 5 times negative 8. Okay? We could do negative 2 times negative 20. And often when we have a negative term second, we're going to put it in parentheses. That mostly just helps us recognize that that is negative there. And then we could have negative 1 times negative 40. Still going to give us a positive answer. Let's look at our 12. To get a positive answer, we either need two positives, say 3 times 4, or we need a positive and a negative. Or we need two negatives. So we could do negative 2 times negative 6. That'll also get us there. Another thing that might get us there is if we had, so what are two other ones that we can multiply up to get 12? We could have negative 1 times negative 12. Or again, we could have two positives. We could do 1 times 12. Let's think of numbers that'll get us 28. So that's 4 times 7. If we make one of them negative, negative 4 times 7, that's going to be negative 28. If we do negative 7 times 4, that's also going to be 28. We could do 14 times negative 2, or you could do negative 14 times 2. Notice that there's one negative each time. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and try to fill in some of these and see if the answer is positive. Well, the only way to do that is if both numbers are positive. All right? Or you could do both numbers negative. Now, we could do it with 3 numbers, for example. So for this one here, I could do 2 times negative 3 times negative 4. So here I've still got my two negatives. So a positive times a negative is a negative, but then my negative times my negative is my positive. So we can extend the idea to involving more than just two numbers and figure out how that works there, or we can still just do it with two numbers. So if you want to start, you can do it with two numbers, or you can stretch it out to try to figure out ways that you could multiply 3 numbers together to get the desired answer. Now I'm going to pause here and let you get a head start and try to do these, and we'll see there are many different answers for these. So now that you've had a chance to do these, hopefully you'll get some interesting answers. I'm going to do a few more. So 24 could be 2 times 12, or it could be a negative 2 times a negative 12. And then we could do negative 1 times negative 24. So those are ways that we could involve our negatives. Here we could have negative 5 times 4. We could have 5 times negative 4. We could have 10 times negative 2. Or we could have negative 10 times 2. Alright, so here we're just switching where the negative is. Let's look at 7. So we could do 1 times 7. We could do 7 times 1. We could do negative 1 times negative 7. Or we could do negative 7 times negative 1. All those will get us there. Negative 15, we could have 1 times negative 15. We could have 3 times negative 5. We could have negative 3 times 5. Or we could have negative 1 times 15. So again, positive and negative. Now for this one, what I want you to do let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're going to use a little spinner to help decide which numbers. So you're going to put a spinner here, here, and here. And you're going to get your number, your operation, and your second number, and then you're going to do the calculations. Okay? I am going to set up a random number generator to get my numbers ready for me. And I will show you my results here. Alright, so I've got a random number generator here. This one's going to go through 1 through 8. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one's always going to be 1 or 2, so if it's 1, I'm going to do multiplication. If it's 2, I'm going to do division. And this one is going to go 1 through 8 here. So every time I just change this number here, so let's look at my first spin, I'm going to get 18. Oh, I already missed what it was. So it's 18 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 18 divided by 3. Now, I can't put the little division symbol in there, so I'm just going to write the slash for divide, and that's 6. Let's go ahead and look at what my spin 2 should be. So now I've got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I've got negative 6 divided by 6. Negative 6 divided by 6. The signs are different, so it's going to be negative, so it's negative 1. Let's go ahead and try number 3. Alright, so we're going to get 18 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 18 times 3. They're both positive, so we're going to get a positive answer. And let's see, it's 24, carry the 2, 3, 4, 5, so we get 54. Let's go ahead and check out number 4. So it's going to be number 5 here, which is 12 times, and I already forgot what it was, the 8th term, and that was negative 3. That's going to equal negative 36. Let's check out our next spin. Let's put in number 5 here. So we get 3, 1, 2, 3, so we're going to get 30 times, let's see what it was, number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 30 times 4, that's going to equal 120. Let's put in a 6. Alright, so we get 6, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we get 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 6. 1 positive and 1 negative, that's going to be negative 36. Let's check out number 7. 5, 1, 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 times 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 6. That's going to be negative. And let's check out 8. 8, 1, 5, so 18 times 4. 18 times 4 equals, let's see, that's 32, carry the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Positive 72. Lastly, let's check 9, 7, 1, 2. So that's going to be negative 24 times, number 2 is negative 4. Alright, a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to be 96. Now, let's read through this word problem. On January, the temperature in Fargo, North Dakota was negative 8 degrees. Over a period of 6 hours, the temperature rose 4 degrees per hour. What was the temperature? So I know started at negative 8 degrees. Rose, not froze, rose 4 degrees per hour for 6 hours. I need to know the final temperature. So my plan is to start with this original Okay, move that down. Start with original and add change. So our original temperature is -8 plus, let's figure out our change. Well, we had 4 times 6. Now we need to do our multiplication first to figure out our change. So we get -8 plus 24. The signs are opposite, so we're actually gonna subtract, and we're gonna get 16, and it's gonna be a positive 16. So the final temperature is 16 degrees. Go ahead and summarize today's lesson, what you learned, what the rules are for multiplying and dividing integers, and then go ahead and work on the assignment in ALEKS.